All right, welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with, well, with a confession, actually.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, and it's a confession that I think a lot of people listening right now have probably, you know, whispered to themselves, maybe at 2 in the morning on New Year's Day.
I think I know where this is going.
It's that feeling, that really nagging, heavy feeling of, I really, really should be better at English. Or, Spanish, French, whatever your target language is.
The shoulds. They're always heavy.
They are. But then, almost immediately, this little safety mechanism kicks in, an excuse that kind of lets us all off the hook.
And that would be the geography excuse.
Exactly, the geography excuse. It's that thought that says, look, I'm an accountant in Ohio or I'm a student in Tokyo.
Right.
Unless I pack up my entire life, quit my job, and move to some tiny studio apartment in London or New York, I am never, ever going to be fluent.
It's the belief that fluency is something you buy with a plane ticket.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's so common.
It's such a pervasive myth. And, it's a dangerous one. Because what it's essentially telling you is that your failure, it isn't your fault.
Oh,
It's your location's fault. It creates this binary world where you're either immersed in the country and therefore you're going to be successful, or you're at home and therefore you're just stagnant, doomed to fail.
Yeah, we have this completely romanticized view of immersion, don't we?
Yeah.
We imagine that if we just landed at Heathrow Airport, the English language would, I don't know, just seep into our pores.
Through osmosis.
Like osmosis, exactly. We just breathe it in.
Right.
But we are stripping that fantasy away today. We're looking at language learning, but I want to be really clear. We were stripping away the textbooks.
Okay.
We're stripping away that classroom anxiety, and we're definitely stripping away the grammar drills.
Which I think everyone listening will be very, very relieved to hear.
I know, I certainly am. So the question on the table today is simple, but it's also really high stakes. Is it actually possible to get fluent? And I don't just mean like pass a test fluent.
Right. Not academic fluent.
No. I mean, comfortable, natural, cracking jokes at a bar fluent. Is it possible to get there without ever leaving your house?
That is the core question. And to answer it, we're doing a deep dive into a very specific philosophy. We're looking at a guide by a creator who goes by Tom from a platform called English Unleashed.
English Unleashed.
And the title of his whole methodology really sets the stage here. It's called Small Steps, Big Fluency.
English Unleashed. It sounds a bit aggressive, doesn't it? Like you're letting some wild animal out of a cage.
Well, in a way you are. The animal in this metaphor is the language itself, and the cage is the traditional classroom.
I like that.
Tom's entire premise is that we've sort of domesticated English. We've made it boring and, frankly, ineffective. So he advocates for a no grammar drills approach.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because usually when I hear no grammar, my first thought is scam.
I get that.
It sounds like one of those late-night infomercials promising you can learn a language in your sleep.
Yeah.
But that's not what this is it?
No, absolutely not. In fact, what Tom is proposing is actually, it's harder, in terms of discipline at least, even if it's easier on the cognitive load.
So what's our mission then for this deep dive?
The mission is to extract the tactical, practical steps that Tom lays out for practicing English every single day. And he's not talking to, linguistic geniuses. He's specifically targeting people who are busy.
That's me.
People who are shy, or people who just feel totally stuck at that A1 or A2 beginner plateau.
That's what I call intermediate hell. It's where you know just enough to order a coffee, but not enough to explain why you're crying about the coffee.
That's a perfect description.
Yeah.
And he really tackles the psychological barriers that keep people stuck there, specifically the I don't have time excuse and the I'm too nervous excuse.
Okay, so let's jump right into that core philosophy. Tom draws a pretty sharp line in the sand between studying English and living with English.
Yes.
And honestly, I sometimes struggle with this distinction. Because if I'm learning a language, isn't that inherently studying? If I'm looking at a word I don't know and I'm trying to remember it, that feels like study to me.
In the traditional sense, sure. But Tom argues that the study mindset is actually the anchor that's dragging you down.
How so?
Well, think about how you treat studying. It's an event. It's an appointment you put in your calendar. You say, okay, it's Monday night. It's 7 o'clock. I have my textbook. I have my highlighter. I will now sit at my desk for 30 minutes and study English.
Yeah, ideally with a cup of tea and, Total silence.
Right. It's all ritualized. It's separate from your actual real life. At the end of the day, it's a chore. And because it requires that whole setup, the desk, the quiet, the book, it's incredibly fragile.
What do you mean by fragile?
I mean, if you're tired, you skip it. If you have to work late, you skip it. If you just don't feel like it, you skip it.
And then the guilt sets in, and the cycle starts all over again.
Precisely. Tom's philosophy of living with the language is all about integration. It's about taking English out of that 7 p.m. slot on a Monday and weaving it into the fabric of your mundane, everyday existence.
So it's not about finding more time.
No, it's not about finding new time. It's about utilizing the time you already have, just differently.
Okay, I hear you, but I'm going to play the skeptic here for a minute.
Yeah.
Because I know myself and I know our listeners, we are busy. We have jobs, kids, commutes, side hustles, everything.
Of course.
When I hear integrated into your life, I kind of panic. It feels like I have to be on 24/7.
Uh-huh.
And that brings us right to the busy trap.
The busy trap.
I feel like every single time I try to learn something new, I tell myself, I just don't have time. But looking at the source material, Tom isn't buying that excuse, is he?
He really isn't. Not at all. In fact, he kind of dismantles the whole concept of having time. He counters that "I'm busy" excuse by saying, and this is key, you don't need a lot of time, you just need to begin. His argument is that we view time as these big, solid blocks. We think, I can't learn English because I don't have a spare hour.
Which is true. I mean, who has a spare hour just lying around?
But do you have 5 minutes while you're waiting for the bus?
Yeah, probably.
Do you have 10 minutes while you're washing the dishes? Or 3 minutes while the microwave is counting down?
Okay, sure. But that's what I call dead time. That's time I used to doom scroll on my phone or just, stare at the wall and drool a little bit.
And Tom wants to steal that time. He calls it reclaiming the margins.
Reclaiming the margins. I like that.
If you're cleaning the house for 20 minutes, that's 20 minutes where your hands are busy, but your ears are wide open. If you're walking the dog, your legs are moving, but your brain is free. Tom wants you to plug English into those gaps.
So it's a shift from I need to find more time to I need to use the time I'm already spending.
Exactly. It's a mindset shift.
It sounds efficient, I'll give you that, but is it really effective? Can you actually learn anything in these little 3-minute bursts while waiting for a latte? It feels, I don't know, scattered.
And that's where the idea of frequency over intensity comes in. The brain, our brains, actually learn better through frequent low-stakes exposure than they do through one massive high-stress cram session once a week.
It's like the gym analogy.
It's exactly like the gym. You don't get fit by working out for 7 hours straight on a Saturday and then eating pizza for 6 days. You get fit by doing 30 minutes or even 15 every single day.
Okay, fair point. So we stop treating it like this specialized event and start treating it like a background process. But then we hit the second barrier, and honestly, I think this one is even harder than the time issue.
The confidence barrier.
The confidence barrier.
Yeah.
Because even if I magically find the time, I don't have the guts.
This is huge. And Tom spends a lot of time on this. He's speaking directly to the listener who is shy or nervous or a total perfectionist. The person who says, I'll speak when my grammar is perfect.
Oh, I know that voice so well. I don't want to open my mouth until I know I won't sound stupid. It's the fear of sounding like a toddler in a business suit.
And that is the trap. Tom emphasizes again and again that the goal isn't perfection, it's comfort. It's about naturalness. If you wait for perfect grammar, you will be waiting forever, literally.
So what's the goal then?
He wants you to get comfortable with the feeling of English in your mouth, regardless of whether the grammar is 100% accurate yet.
So it's about developing a tolerance for error, your own errors.
It's about physical familiarization. Think about it. You don't learn to dance by reading a book about steps and refusing to move until you can do it perfectly.
No, you'd never get on the dance floor.
You'd never move. You have to stumble around. You look silly. You step on people's toes. And eventually, your muscles learn the movement. Tom argues that confidence comes from the doing, not the other way around. You don't wait for confidence to act. You act to build confidence.
That makes sense theoretically, but practically, it's terrifying. So let's get into the actual how. Because if I'm just stumbling around, I might just be practicing my mistakes over and over.
A valid concern.
The source material highlights a very specific technique for this. It's called shadowing. Now, I've heard this term thrown around in language circles for years. It usually gets dismissed as just parroting, but Tom breaks it down very specifically. What exactly is shadowing in this context?
You're right. It is often misunderstood as just repeating words, but there's a real nuance here that makes it powerful. Tom defines shadowing as listening to a speaker like, say, a podcast host or a news anchor, and repeating exactly what they say almost simultaneously.
Almost simultaneously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're copying the sound like an echo.
An echo? Okay, so there's a little bit of a delay.
A tiny delay, a split second. You hear the word and you say the word immediately. The key here, and this is where most people get it wrong, is that you are matching the speed, the tone, and the rhythm.
So you're not just saying the words.
No, you aren't just reading a transcript and saying the words in your own flat, monotone voice. You are trying to inhabit the speaker's voice.
So it's like acting.
It is 100% acting. If they go up in pitch at the end of a sentence, you go up in pitch. If they pause for dramatic effect, you pause. If they sound excited, you sound excited. You're essentially trying to clone their speech patterns in real time.
And Tom lays out some very strict rules for this, right? It's not a casual listen and repeat whenever you feel like it.
Right. And these constraints are what make it a powerful drill and not just passive listening. Rule number 1 is do not stop.
Ever.
Ever. Even if you miss a word, even if you stumble over something, you keep the train moving. You just jump back in on the next word you hear.
Okay, don't stop. What's rule 2?
Rule number 2, do not translate in your mind. And this is the big one.
And rule 3?
Rule number 3, do not look at a dictionary.
Whoa, wait a second. No dictionary.
No dictionary. But how do I learn anything then? If I'm shadowing a sentence and I don't know what the word ubiquitous means and I just say ubiquitous, haven't I just made a noise? I haven't actually learned the meaning.
And that is the hardest hurdle for smart, analytical people to get over. We are obsessed with meaning. We want to know what we're saying.
Of course.
But Tom is saying, for this specific exercise, meaning is secondary, sound is primary. If you stop to look up the word ubiquitous, you have just engaged the analytical, logical part of your brain. You've stopped the flow. You've completely killed the rhythm.
So you're not training your mind, you're training your mouth.
Exactly. Shadowing is physical training. It is so much closer to athletics than it is to academics. It's about building that connection between your ears and your mouth muscles. Tom puts it really well. He says it's about learning how it feels in your mouth. He wants you to bypass that intellectual middleman of translation and just get your tongue used to the gymnastics of English sounds. It really is muscle memory. It's like playing scales on a piano. You're not composing a symphony, you're just getting your fingers used to the keys.
That's a perfect analogy. When you bypass the translation step, you start to internalize the rhythm of the language, the prosody. You stop thinking about subject-verb agreement and you start feeling the cadence of a natural sentence.
The source gives a really simple example of this drill, just to show how it works. Tom uses the phrase, I want to speak English fluently. And then another one, I listen to English every day.
Right. Very simple, very clear.
So in practice, I would hear him say, I want to speak English fluently. And I'm right behind him, maybe mumbling at first. I want to speak English fluently, matching his speed, his stress points on speak and fluently.
Yes. And if he says it aggressively, you say it aggressively. If he whispers it, you whisper it. You are surrendering your own voice to mimic his. It's about imitation.
And he says you only need to do this for 5 minutes a day.
5 minutes a day. That's it.
I have to be honest, 5 minutes of that kind of intense concentration sounds absolutely exhausting.
It is, and that's why he limits it. It is incredibly cognitively demanding. But he claims it creates big results because it breaks that barrier of silence. Most people learn a language with their eyes, reading and writing.
Sure.
Shadowing forces you to learn with your ears and your mouth. It bridges that huge gap between knowing a word on a piece of paper and being able to physically produce it in the air.
Okay, so shadowing is the core technique. It's the engine. But Tom expands this into a broader framework he calls the 5 pillars of daily practice.
Yes.
Let's walk through these because this is really the roadmap for the listener. This is the what do I actually do on Tuesday morning part. So pillar number 1 is input.
Input, which is basically listening. And Tom's rule here is non-negotiable. It must happen every single day, not just once a week when you feel motivated. Every day.
And what kind of content are we talking about here? Is this those old Learn English tapes where everyone speaks incredibly slowly? Hello? How?
Yeah.
Are?
No.
You?
Please, no. Those are the absolute worst. No, he suggests real content. Podcasts, music, YouTube videos, short audio stories, the news, whatever you're interested in. But the interesting part here isn't the what, it's the how.
Okay.
Tom brings up this concept he calls the background music approach.
I like that idea, but I'm also a little skeptical of it. Can you explain it?
He says you don't need to understand 100% of what you hear. In fact, he says even 30 or 50% comprehension is fine. The goal isn't to pass a test on the content later.
What is the goal then?
The goal is just to let the sounds enter your ears.
See, this is where I struggle with that idea. If I only understand 30%, isn't the other 70% just noise? Like, if I turn on a Japanese podcast right now, I will understand 0%. Is that helpful at all?
Well, if it's truly 0%, then probably not. But if you're at an A1 or A2 level, you're not at 0. You catch words, you catch good morning, you catch coffee, you catch busy, you catch names and places.
So you're grabbing onto these little islands of understanding.
Exactly. And Tom's point is that by having English playing in the background while you cook or exercise, your brain is subconsciously picking up the rhythm and the intonation patterns, even if you aren't focused on the definition of every single word. You are acclimatizing your brain to the frequency of the language.
So it's about creating immersion without the pressure of performance.
That's it. We usually treat listening like an exam. We think, did I catch that sentence? No. Okay, I failed. Tom is saying, don't treat it like an exam, treat it like an atmosphere. Just let it be there.
Lower the stakes. Okay, I can do that. That leads us to pillar 2, output.
Yeah.
Which brings us right back to speaking.
Yes, you can't just absorb. You have to produce.
Yeah.
And this is where he re-emphasizes shadowing, but as this other element of what you could call brute force repetition.
Brute force.
Yeah, he suggests taking one specific sentence, maybe one you heard and struggled with or one that's useful, and just repeating it again and again and again.
He uses the example sentence. I don't understand everything, but I keep going.
Which is honestly a great mantra for life in general.
It really is. But he wants you to say that sentence, what, 50 times? 100 times?
Until it's smooth. He talks about lubrication. When you say a new complex sentence for the first time, it's clunky. Your tongue trips over the th sound. You pause in the middle. It's jagged.
I know that feeling.
But if you say it 20 times, your tongue figures out the path of least resistance. The connections in your brain fire faster. The speaking becomes smoother.
So it's like drilling, but without the textbook. It's drilling by doing.
Precisely. And again, the reminder is always there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be practiced. Progress over perfection.
Which moves us to pillar 3. And I want to pause here because I think this is probably the most important one and also the one that makes me feel the most, well, insane.
Yes.
Pillar 3 is internal monologue, or thinking in English.
This is the holy grail. I mean, if you can think in the language, you are fluent. Full stop. If you dream in the language, you've definitely made it.
But getting there just seems impossible. Tom identifies the translation trap again here, but in a different way.
Right. He talks about the lag. This is what happens to most learners. You see a dog, your brain registers the concept of dog, then your brain finds the word in your native language. Let's say it's perro in Spanish or chien in French.
Okay.
Then your brain has to pull out its internal Spanish to English dictionary, find the word dog, and then send that signal to your mouth. That whole process takes maybe half a second, maybe a full second.
But in a real conversation, half a second is an eternity. It makes you sound slow. It makes you feel stupid.
Exactly. And it's exhausting. Doing that mental computation for every single word absolutely drains your battery.
So what's Tom's fix?
To start ridiculously painfully small, don't try to debate philosophy in your head in English on day 1. Start with one thought at a time. The simplest sentences imaginable.
He gives this morning routine visualization that I thought was really practical, but I wanted to walk through it because I want to see if it's realistic for someone to do.
Okay, let's do it.
So I wake up, my alarm goes off. Usually my first thought is just a grunt, or maybe no, or 5 more minutes in my native language. Tom wants me to hijack that moment.
Yes. He wants you to consciously force the thought in English. So you open your eyes, you think, it's morning.
It's morning.
Then maybe, I'm still sleepy. Then, I need coffee.
I need coffee. The universal human truth.
Subject, verb, object, I need coffee. It's primitive, it's simple, but what you're doing is forcing your brain to label reality in English directly.
Yeah.
You are cutting the wire to your native language for that one thought.
Okay, so I get my coffee. I'm stumbling outside. Now what?
You look up, the sky is blue, you feel the wind, the air is cold, you see something move. I see a dog.
I see a dog. Expert, come on, I'm a grown adult. Walking down the street thinking I see a dog feels infantile, feels like I'm degrading my own intelligence.
It feels silly. Absolutely, 100%. And that feeling of embarrassment, that's actually the first barrier you have to break. Because if you're too proud or too self-conscious to whisper, I see a dog to yourself, in the privacy of your own skull, how are you ever going to survive the public embarrassment of making a grammar mistake in a real conversation with, say, your boss or a client?
Oof, that's a really good point.
Tom argues that this private, silly practice is the rehearsal space. It's the safe space. You're building the neural pathways to connect the concept of the dog directly to the English word dog with no middleman. He actually suggests whispering these thoughts at first.
So you're literally walking down the street muttering to yourself, the bus is late, that man is call, people are going to think I'm losing it.
Let them think that. Who cares? You're learning. This internal narration or external muttering turns your entire life into practice material. You don't need a textbook. You just need to look around the room you're in and describe what you see. It transforms waiting in line from wasted time into vocabulary practice.
I suppose it does make the world your classroom, but it requires a lot of mindfulness to remember to even do it.
It does. It's a habit you have to consciously build. Absolutely.
Okay, pillar 4, muscle training. He's back to the gym analogy here. This one is about reading aloud.
Yes. He compares this to going to the gym for your speaking muscles. Most of us, when we read silently. And when you read silently, you might recognize the words, you know what they mean, but you aren't training your mouth to actually form them.
I have definitely had that experience where I know a word perfectly on the page, like rural or squirrel, but when I try to say it out loud, my tongue just ties itself in a knot.
Rural is a trap for everyone, native speakers included, but that's exactly what this exercise prevents. The method Tom suggests is a kind of 3-step escalation ladder.
Okay.
You choose a short text, maybe a children's book, a beginner story, something simple.
Step 1.
And step 1, read it slowly and clearly. Focus on every single syllable. Exaggerate the sound.
The dot cat sat on dot mat. Like that.
Exactly like that.
Yep.
You're focusing on pure articulation. Step 2, read the same passage again, but faster. Push the tempo. Try to read it at a more natural conversational speed.
The speed drill.
And then, step 3, read it with expression. Imagine you are an actor performing it.
Oh, we're back to acting again.
We are. If the character in the story is angry, you sound angry. If it's a question, make your voice go up at the end. This connects the emotional context to the vocabulary. It stops you from sounding like a robot who's just reading words off a page. It's about prosody, the music of the speech.
I can see how that would help with confidence, too. If you can act it out alone in your room, you're probably less likely to freeze up when you have to use that same tone in real life.
It's a dress rehearsal for reality.
And finally, pillar 5, real-life integration. This seems less like a specific action and more like the wrapper for everything else.
That's a good way to put it. It's the transition point. Pillars 1 through 4 are what he calls practice modes. They are deliberate exercises. Pillar 5 is about lifestyle. It's the mental shift, the realization that English should be as routine as your morning coffee.
It shouldn't be a Monday night thing.
It should be an every moment thing.
And to help with that integration, because, lifestyle change is a big, scary phrase, Tom provides what he calls tactical implementation, or, as I like to call them, the lazy hacks.
Smart hacks might be a little more charitable.
Fair enough, but they are smart because they feel lazy. They use time and tools you're already using. So let's go through these digital and daily hacks. Hack number 1, phone settings.
This is a classic, but I think Tom explains the psychology behind it really well. The action is simple. Change your phone's language to English.
I've heard people say this for years, but I'm going to push back a bit. Does it actually make that much of a difference? It seems so minor, and honestly, it seems really annoying. If I can't find the flashlight button because it's now called torch or something, I'm just going to get frustrated and change it back.
It creates friction, yes, but that friction is exactly where the learning happens. Think about how many times you unlock your phone in a day. 50 times. 100.
Easily. Probably more, sadly.
Every single time you do, you are seeing words like settings, airplane mode, brightness, delete, download, update available. You aren't studying these words with flashcards, you're seeing them in context repeatedly.
So it's passive learning.
It's passive learning at its best. Your brain just accepts that delete means make it go away because you perform that action 10 times a day.
So it's immersion by brute force. You have no choice but to learn what cancel means if you ever want to use your phone again.
Exactly. And it sets a tone for your day. The first thing you see in the morning on your lock screen is English. It signals to your brain, okay, English mode is on. It breaks the pattern of your native language being the absolute default for everything.
Okay, hack number 2, the micro diary. Now, when I hear diary, I think, Dear Diary, today was a long and arduous day. And I think of writing pages and pages of text, and then I think, I'll do that tomorrow.
And then you never do it.
And then I never do it.
And Tom knows you don't do it. That's why he calls it a micro-diary. He specifically attacks that perfectionist barrier. He says, people think they need to write essays. The fix. Write just 3 short sentences.
3 sentences, that's it.
That is it. He gives examples like, today I went to work, I was very tired, I drank 2 cups of coffee.
That sounds incredibly boring.
It is boring. It's supposed to be boring. It's data. But look at what you're doing grammatically in those boring sentences. Went, was, drank. You are forcing your brain to recall and use past tense verbs. You're structuring a simple narrative, and you're doing it every single day.
So it's not about being Hemingway. It's about logging the data and practicing the form.
Right, and you can do it anywhere. Keep a little notebook by your bed. Or just type it into the Notes app on your phone. Or, and this is a great tip, text it to a friend who's also learning. That adds a layer of accountability.
Which leads into hack number 3, and this relates to the output pillar again, the 1-minute voice message.
This is one of Tom's favorites, and I think it's the most powerful but also the most painful one for people to actually do.
Why painful?
Because nobody, and I mean nobody, likes the sound of their own voice.
Oh, God. It's true. Hearing yourself on a recording is the absolute worst.
It is, but that cringe factor is valuable. The hack is this. At the end of the day, take out your phone, open the voice recorder app, and just record yourself for 1 minute. Talk about your day. I made lunch for my family. I watched a short English video. I had a meeting with my team.
And then what do I do with this recording? Do I delete it immediately and burn the phone?
No, you listen to it. That's the feedback loop. That's the crucial step. When you speak in real time, you often don't hear your own mistakes because your brain is too busy finding the next word. You're in transmit mode.
Right.
But when you listen to the recording, you're in receive mode. You become your own teacher. You hear yourself and you think, oh, I said I go to work yesterday instead of I went to work yesterday.
That self-awareness is key. You can notice your own common mistakes and start to fix them next time.
It is, and it provides a track record. If you do this every day for a month, you can go back and listen to day 1 and day 30, and you will actually tangibly hear the improvement, and that is incredibly motivating.
Okay, hack number 4, online community. This is all about connection, right?
Yes. We said at the beginning, you don't need to move to the UK, and you don't. But you can't learn in a total vacuum. Tom suggests joining an English-speaking group online, things like WhatsApp groups, Telegram channels, an app like Tandem, or just Facebook groups.
But isn't that just a bunch of strangers yelling at each other on the internet?
Sometimes. But if you find a good community, one based around a hobby you have, it completely shifts your motivation. If you're in a group sharing memes about cats or talking about football and you want to understand the joke, you aren't studying, you're participating.
That's a good distinction.
Sending a little voice note to a group makes English feel alive. It stops being a school subject you fail at and starts being a tool you use to connect with people.
Finally, hack number 5, short video repetition. We're talking TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Usually these things are seen as the enemy of productivity. I know I spend way too much time watching cooking videos at 11 p.m.
Tom flips that script. He says use them. The internet is flooded with short, simple, authentic English videos. He says choose one. Maybe it's only 20 seconds long. Watch it once, then watch it again. Then pause it and repeat the sentences out loud.
So it's basically microshadowing.
Yes, and it's fantastic because it's usually very natural, casual speech. It's got slang, it's fast. It's how people actually talk, not how textbooks say they talk. If a TikToker is yelling about a bad movie they saw, you yell about the bad movie. Mimic their emotion and their speed.
And doing that for 20 seconds is infinitely more manageable than trying to watch a 2-hour movie without subtitles and feeling completely lost the whole time.
Right. It's accessible. It's a tiny, achievable win. You can do it while you're waiting for the elevator.
So if we look at this whole system, all these pillars and hacks, Tom's secret isn't really a secret at all, is it? It's just accumulation. It's building a mountain out of tiny pebbles.
It's the aggregation of marginal gains. That's the fancy technical term for it. Tom puts it much more simply. Turn small daily actions into English practice.
So instead of saying good morning to your spouse in your native language,
Say it in English.
instead of writing buy milk on your to-do list in your mother tongue,
Write it in English. It's that simple.
it's about an identity shift, really.
That's the why that he comes back to at the very end. Strong habits create confident speakers. If English only exists in your textbook, it will stay in your textbook. But if English is in your phone, and in your journal, and in your inner thoughts, and on your voice recorder, it becomes part of who you are.
I think that's the most powerful takeaway here for me. We started this whole deep dive talking about the misconception that you need to move to a different country. But really, you just need to move your mindset.
You need to build an English-speaking environment inside your own head and inside your own home. You don't need a passport or a plane ticket for that.
So for everyone listening, the busy accountant, the shy student, the person who's already quit 3 times, here's your call to action. Don't go sign up for a 3-hour class that you know you're going to dread. Don't buy a $200 textbook that will just gather dust.
Just pick one thing.
Pick one of these pillars, just one. Maybe change your phone settings to English right after this. Maybe do that 1-minute voice memo tonight before you go to sleep.
Just start. As Thomas, you don't need perfect grammar to start. You need to start to get the grammar.
And I'll leave you with this final thought. We so often treat language learning like a destination. We say, when I'm fluent, then I'll be happy. Then I'll finally speak. But what if fluency isn't a finish line you cross? What if fluency begins the exact moment that English stops feeling like homework and starts feeling like life?
That is the shift. When it stops being something you do and starts being something you live.
Thanks for diving in with us. Good luck with your shadowing, and try not to scare the neighbors when you're shouting at a podcast. And we'll see you in the next deep dive.
See you then.